Tired of wondering if your child's inattention is ADHD or an attempt to avoid the struggle of reading? Up to 40% of people with ADHD also have dyslexia. One condition can easily mask the other. So what do you do as a parent? Today we're diving into the critical topic of dyslexia and ADHD to help you understand what patterns to look for. We'll also discuss 5 things that you can do to help your child thrive. Well, hello everyone. My name is Tracy Young, OG Tutor Extraordinaire, founder of theliteracykeys.com, and most importantly, mom of a dyslexic daughter. Welcome to my podcast, where you'll discover ways to unlock your child's reading potential. I'll share tips, strategies, and war stories that have happened along the way, because everyone deserves to be able to read. So let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Today we're delving into a topic that is incredibly important for so many families: the occurrence of both dyslexia and ADHD in a child. Now, if you're a parent of a child with ADHD who struggles to read, listen up, as we'll share how these two conditions often coexist and offer practical tips to help your child thrive. Many parents and even educators face a critical question when a child struggles. Are they struggling to focus because they have ADHD? Are they avoiding reading because they have dyslexia? Well, what if the child has both? Getting to the heart of this issue is absolutely critical. It determines if your child needs organizational help, reading intervention, or both. Studies suggest that anywhere from 25% to 40% of individuals with ADHD also have dyslexia. It's a significant overlap that is also referred to as comorbidity, meaning the conditions are frequently seen together. So as a parent, you need to be aware that the more outwardly disruptive symptoms of ADHD, such as inattention, hyperactivity, impulsivity, can actually mask the foundational struggles of dyslexia. When a child is distracted, fidgety, or avoiding schoolwork, it's easy to attribute all of the problems to ADHD. However, if that child is spending all of their cognitive energy, think brain power, just trying to decode a word, they have no mental energy left to maintain focus or even try to comprehend the text. In this instance, the reading struggle is the root cause of the distraction. And unfortunately, this masking effect can delay diagnosis, along with appropriate intervention. So where do you start as a parent? Well, by looking for patterns. Have your child read out loud to you. Does your child consistently misread or guess at words? Is reading a slow, laborious process? You'll know it. Do they avoid reading at all cost? Does the inattention become worse when they're reading? These are all clues that dyslexia might also be at play. So now let's talk a little bit about what you can do. Remember, the goal is to provide the support and leverage your child's strengths. Let's talk about 5 things you as a parent can do. The first, you need to seek a comprehensive evaluation. Even if your child has one, maybe they are diagnosed with ADHD, you still want to obtain a full evaluation that can differentiate between ADHD and dyslexia, as well as identify specific areas of need. You can do this by investigating where to obtain a comprehensive evaluation in your area, by looking for a neuropsychologist or an educational psychologist who is familiar with both conditions, all right? They've got to be familiar with both conditions so that they can assess the severity of each. Frequently, the ADHD will be noticed long before the reading issues are uncovered. Let's talk a little bit about what a full evaluation covers so you can ask these questions. You want to see, does it include an assessment of intelligence, frequently known as an IQ test? And this is needed because it shows their potential. Second thing to look for, academic achievement testing. This will pinpoint specific weaknesses in reading, such as decoding, fluency, comprehension, as well as writing and math. These assessments help identify the characteristics of what I call the 3Ds, dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. Another test, executive functioning assessment, and this is critical for ADHD. It evaluates areas like working memory, planning, organizational skills, and inhibitory control. Another area to assess for, processing assessments. These measure underlying cognitive skills like phonological awareness, which is a key marker for dyslexia, along with processing speed. How much information and working memory, how much information can they keep and store in their brain when they're learning something? And finally, behavioral or emotional screening can be part of the overall comprehensive assessment. This will assess for anxiety, which is often a secondary result of academic struggles. So if the evaluation results show both dyslexia and ADHD, then you'll have a better understanding of the framework needed to minimize distractions and maximize learning for your child. For example, one of my students with dyslexia and ADHD switched the time of their lessons from afternoons to mornings before school. And this was a game changer, as the student was refreshed and able to absorb the learning compared to sessions in the afternoon where they were completely exhausted coming from school. Now let's talk about tip number 2. Structure, structure, and more structure. Basically, you want to create a predictable daily schedule for homework and activities. You want to use visual schedules or checklists, the more the merrier, to provide a structure necessary to manage organizational challenges. The more predictable everything is, the easier it will be for your child to navigate. If daily schedules vary significantly according to the day of the week, then create a checklist or a schedule for each day. Have them create the list with you. Ask what do they need to do when they come home from school. List the activities all the way to bedtime. Place the list in a highly visible location and let them check off the different tasks as they accomplish them. Right? It's meant to be engaging and interactive. Pencil and a pen, there is nothing. Have them cross it off. There's nothing more kind of rewarding than like crossing something off or checking it as being done. That brings us to tip number 3. You want to teach executive functioning skills explicitly. Now, I don't know about you, but executive functioning skills, I don't have a clue what that even is. What you are saying, or what I am trying to say, is your child needs to learn specific skills like planning, time management, and task initiation. The fancy terminology for this is executive functioning skills, but most parents simply call it planning, time management, and initiation, start the homework. These skills might not be taught in school, but they do need to be learned. I share a case in point in which the middle school in my region stopped providing students with planners several years ago. The teachers no longer incorporated the how to use the planner into the lesson planning, and the students were left to figure it all out on their own, if they even had their own planner. In a few short years, everyone noticed a significant decline in planning skills among middle school students. Needless to say, planners have been incorporated once more into the curriculum. And this is just one school. If your child was in middle school when planners were not part of the lessons, they moved on to high school not knowing how to plan their assignments and manage their time. So when sharing how to use a planner, include how to break a large assignment into smaller, manageable steps. You'll need to model writing each step and allocate the amount of time needed directly into the planner. It can be helpful to take 5 to 10 minutes every day before starting homework to record what needs to be done that day, as well as pre-plan for the entire week. I recommend color code everything. Use a blue binder, a blue folder, a blue notebook for one subject in order to create a visual association. Social studies is blue. Everything that I have is blue. Then that means social studies. Let your child select the colors for a sense of ownership. Tip number 4. You can leverage technology. Use technology as a helpful aid. If your child has dyslexia and reads at a slower pace, then audiobooks can help them keep up with the pace of reading in class. This is especially important if your child becomes tired after reading a few pages. When writing, text-to-speech software can help your child focus on what they want to write without the physical demands of handwriting. Right? Think typing, keyboarding. You might also want to consider a digital planner on the computer. Many can be printed out a week at a time or even a month at a glance for longer-term projects. Digital planners on a cell phone might not be a viable alternative, as many schools have banned cell phones during the day. And when using a planner, you want to have it quickly accessible so you can write things in all the time. That brings us to tip number 5. Simplify the learning environment. You want to reduce the visual and auditory clutter in the space where they do their homework. This is definitely a case of less is more. Think Zen. Create this designated focus zone without distractions, because this can help the ADHD brain stay regulated. You can minimize background noise by turning off the TV or limiting other activity. Seat the child away from doors, windows, and high traffic areas. Another thing you can do for focus is to use noise-canceling headphones. Lastly, you want to incorporate movement breaks into their homework routine. Start with standing up for a stretch for 30 seconds after 15 minutes of work. These breaks help to refocus the brain and prevent it from wandering off, in which nothing gets done. So there you have it. I've listed 5 things you can do to understand ADHD and dyslexia by creating an environment that minimizes distractions that can affect someone with ADHD. You will help them focus on learning how to read. Of course, each child is different, so you'll want to adapt these tips for what works best in your family. There you have it. Thank you for joining us on this episode discussing how dyslexia and ADHD frequently coexist, and more importantly, what you can do to unlock your child's learning potential. Please share this podcast with another parent who needs to hear the information. If you like the podcast, leave us a review. I completely understand that it is a hassle, but it truly helps others find us. Pretty please, with sugar on top. Well, that's all I have to say for now. Ciao, and I'll see you soon. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to the Literacy Keys podcast. Follow us on social media, and most importantly, tell a friend. See you next week.